Welcome, adventurers. Tonight, we journey through the mist to the folk horror-drenched domain of Tepest, found deep within Ravenloft's twisted demiplane of dread. This is not your typical Gothic haunt. Tepest is a rural nightmare, where every shadow hides fey curses, and every friend could become your accuser. But what sets Tepest apart from other domains? It's the pervasive fear of witchcraft and fey influence. Unlike Barovia's looming castle, Tepest's terror seeps from its own neighbours. Here, terrified villagers search for any sign of unnatural magic, sometimes in their own family, and nobody is innocent until proven otherwise. Let's set the stage. Tepest was introduced in official AD&D supplements and remains a staple in Ravenloft's lore, especially with its expanded details in Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. Picture forests shrouded in fog, isolated cottages, and moors dotted with ancient megaliths. Every part of the land feels charged with supernatural suspicion. Life in Tepest is hard and short. Most folk are isolated farmers or herders, working the land under a constant weight of unease. With scarce contact from outside realms, thanks to the omnipresent mists, Tepestans rely on oral tradition, torchlit gatherings, and folk remedies. Trust is rare, and fear is a way of life. One of the few places that offer a semblance of protection is Victal, the domain's major settlement. Its heart is the Temple of Mother, an imposing and strange church, dedicated not to a forgotten realm's deity, but to an unknown entity called Mother. Here, hope and zeal intermingle with hypocrisy and terror. This brings us straight to the darkest heart of Tepest, the dreaded Three Hags. Leticia, Laveeda, and Lorinda, all green hags in original lore, form an infamous coven of supernaturally potent sisters. They are not just monsters in the woods. They are Tepest's Dark Lords, manipulating fate and fear alike. Let's peel back the layers of the Three Hags. Lorinda, the eldest, and the face behind the Temple of Mother, influences both spiritual and temporal power. Villagers revere her guidance, never knowing her true, monstrous form. A literal, child-devouring hag, profaning the faith she leads. Cut to her sisters. Laveeda, the middle hag, is a mistress of secrets and sowing discord. She ignites village hunts with a rumour whispered by a neighbour or a lie left on a doorstep. Her powers, fitting for a green hag, include magical disguises, manipulation, and imitation, fueling betrayals that keep the community fractious and afraid. Then there's Leticia. The youngest, she works unseen as a conjurer of nightmares. Her mastery in illusion magic triggers collective hysteria. Villagers might wake from a horrific vision and, fearing for their lives, point fingers at a fey-touched neighbour. Leticia's brand of terror comes while you sleep. But what's truly insidious? Tepestans, driven to witch hunts by these hags, rarely realise that every harsh verdict only feeds their tormentors. It's a twisted dynamic where the victims themselves perpetuate their own curse. The more they hunt for witches and fae, the more powerful their Dark Lords become. Transitioning from terror to geography, let's talk about the land itself. Tepest forests, catalogued in Van Richten's Guide as crawling with malicious fae, are laced with standing stones, remnants of an older order, where the border of the Shadow Rift once spilled fae trickery into the land. Speaking of fae, in Tepest, these creatures aren't whimsical. The monster manual's goblins, quicklings, and will-o'-wisps manifest here as nightmarish interlopers, while changelings and dryads twist the villagers' tales of fairy abductions and sinister enchantments. Encounters with the fae are rarely to your adventurer's benefit. Edge closer to the mysterious Shadow Rift, and you find not only the fae, but also the legacy of earlier domains, an ever-present reminder that Tepest's horror is carved into its earth. Ruined shrines signal to those with arcana or religion proficiency that something ancient and angry lurks beneath. For dungeon masters, remember how the mists themselves serve as natural barriers. The borders, per 5e's domain mechanics, are nearly impossible to cross unless the dark powers allow it. This keeps outsiders out, and far more frighteningly, the terrified villagers in. Let's zero in on the infamous witch hunts. Law and justice are perverted here. Following official adventure hooks, accused witches endure kangaroo courts, neighbor denouncing neighbor, powered by evidence no more concrete than a bad harvest or a child's fever. Characters accused may face mob justice or chilling rituals led by Lorinda's own clergy. To make matters grimmer, the Church of Mother is both spiritual and social control. Services mix genuine appeals with unrelenting pressure. Spells like Zone of Truth or Detect Magic ensure nobody escapes suspicion. Not even spellcasters passing through for an innocent Goodberry can avoid hostile scrutiny. Despite all this, hope stubbornly persists. Some secret societies, featured in sourcebooks as resistance cells, hide among the wilds, offering sanctuary to changelings and suspected witches. These brave souls, both NPC and PC, dodge hag spies and try to break the cycle of paranoia, weaving a delicate web of trust. Let's pause for a story hook. Imagine your party arrives during the Festival of Reaping, a harvest ritual twisted by the hags into a search for sacrificial victims. The players must decide. Do they expose the true threat and risk the mob's wrath, or help the villagers navigate the festival without bloodshed? Even rare victories sting in Tepest. When heroes disrupt a fey curse, there's always a cost. A hag's vengeful illusion, a failed exorcism, or a new, subtler enchantment hanging over Victal. Each act of resistance plants seeds for future nightmares. This cyclical terror is pure Ravenloft. Tepest's folk horror is a masterpiece of D&D design, drawing from classic influences like The Wicker Man and real-world witch panic, but uniquely filtered through the lens of D&D mechanics. Here, the monsters are as likely to be your neighbors as they are night hags in the woods. Dungeon masters, use every D&D tool, skill challenges, insight checks, and social roleplay, because winning hearts and minds is as critical as slaying monsters. Navigating village dynamics, exposing false accusations, and uncovering fey plots create deep, suspenseful adventures in this domain. If your group thrives on tension and paranoia, Tepest's folk horror delivers. Every rote through the fog, every candle flicker in Victal, and every whispered accusation offers new story hooks. Will your party break the land cycle, or become another folktale consumed by the mists? Ultimately, Tepest stands as one of Ravenloft's most distinctive and insidious domains. Heroes here aren't just fighting monsters, they're battling systems of fear, ancient curses, and a trio of hags who profit from every broken trust. That's the true terror and lasting legacy of Tepest. For adventurers and dungeon masters alike, Tepest is a realm where saving the day is never simple, and failure means joining the countless victims already lost to its haunted woods, zealous mobs, and the eternal laughter of the Three Hags. Tread carefully and trust no one.